All, welcome to Utility Byte. I'm here to make us aware of four simple Excel functions which can help us with some of the day-to-day financial discussions that we do. So these are financial functions. Okay, I'll use Excel to practically demonstrate these so that it's easier to understand. But before doing that, let me take one quick minute to revise some of the concepts that we will need. First, time value of money. Okay, this only means that money grows with time if invested. So if I kept rupees 100 in a locker for 1 year, at the end of that year, I'll not have 100 rupees, but probably some 94 rupees due to 5 to 6% inflation. But if I invested this 100 rupees at 10%, I'll have about 110 rupees in hand. Second concept, cash flows. For financial functions in Excel, we need to consider numbers with appropriate cash flow signs. And the principle here is cash coming into the pocket is positive, cash going out of the pocket is negative. Lastly, let's remember our compound interest formula at the school times, right? It helped us find out what is the time value of money when you invest. You might wonder, why don't we use that? Why we need Excel functions? The answer is that this formula is okay to use for lump sum calculations, but things become much more complex when we have recurring investments. Okay, so that's the reason Excel makes it much more easier. So let's see some of these Excel functions. We'll start with the first function, which is future value function. Okay, this is a function which is an easy alternative for the compound interest formula, even much better in fact. It helps us calculate the maturity value of an investment. Now this investment could be a lump sum, meaning one time, or a recurring. Now see its parameters that it expects, right? These parameters, I think, pretty intuitive. You will need to know the rate, you will need to know how many periods you need an investment and so on. But let's understand a couple of important things here. Okay, first thing is a payment versus a PV. PV is a present value. Now payment is a parameter you will use for a recurring investment, whereas present value, it really represents a lump sum investment. So if I'm investing 50 rupees a month, I will use PMT to indicate it. If I have invested 50 rupees as a lump sum, I will use PV. The other thing to keep in mind is all these parameters, they need to be in the same unit level. So for example, if you're using monthly payments, then all the relevant parameters, for example, the interest rate, the number of payment periods, the actual payment value, they all should be in monthly terms. If you're using an annual rate, then all these should be in annual terms. So they all need to be in the same unit. Don't worry, all this will be clear when we actually use these examples in Excel. So let me jump into Excel with the future value function. Now I've jumped into Excel where I'll take you through some actual examples where we can try the formula that we learned before. Let's look at this example of a lump sum investment. If I invest lump sum 1 lakh for 5 years, let's say in mutual funds, which gives us a rate of 12% annually, how much will we have at the end? You will see all this information across these boxes, and we'll use the FV, future value function here. Okay, is equal to FV. The first parameter is rate, which is 12%. Periods, it's 5 years. Payment, this is not a recurring payment, hence we will keep payment blank, whereas it's a lump sum, so we'll go to present value, the next parameter. Now this is negative. Remember the cash flows. This is gonna be negative because we are going to keep it for investment into the mutual fund, going out of our pocket, right? So what's the value? What we will have is 176K at the end. Let's try and recheck this with the compound interest formula that we already know. This is P into 1 plus R raised to N, right? Yep, validated. So that's what it is. Now let's look at an example of how to use future value for recurring investment. Let me share an interesting example with you. This is a story of my friend who had a pact with his son of cutting down on monthly movies for a year and a half during his 12th and use that money to buy a good mobile. If you see this example, that's what is listed here. If we cut down on movies and invest into a recurring account, a bank recurring account, so let's assume 7% interest annual for 1.5 years, how much will we have at the end, right? Note one thing here, these couple of boxes, right? We are talking about monthly investment of 1200. This is roughly the amount of money you spend if you go out for a movie, right? Because this is a monthly payment, your interest rate also has to be monthly. Your tenor also has to be in terms of months. Now, what should be the monthly interest rate? Yearly interest rate divided by 12. You will see the formula here. Similarly, what should be the tenor in months? It should be the number of years into 12, right? That's why these two boxes. Let's try and calculate this. This is equal to future value. Now, what's the rate? We'll take monthly interest rate, period, monthly period. What's the payment? Again, that's a payment going out of our pocket, so negative. This time we are using payment, remember, not the present value, because this is a recurring payment, right? What's the value? So this is the value that you will have at the end. Hope that helps us understand the future value formula. Now remember the parameters we used in that formula. The parameters were PMT, which was for recurring payments, PV, which was for a present value or lump sum investment, NPER, which is the number of periods, and the rate, which was the interest rate. Now, each of these parameters really literally becomes an independent financial formula that is very useful for various other calculations. So let's take examples of those. Let's start with a PMT function. Okay, this is the function that helps us calculate recurring payments. Right? Let's take an example. If I take a loan of 5 lakh, what is the monthly premium I need to pay if the annual interest rate is 9%? Like we saw before, because we will be doing monthly premium payments, we need to have monthly calculations, the interest rate as well as tenor in months, the same way, calculated the same way like we did before. Now let's find out what the monthly premium is. We'll use PMT function. What is the rate? I'm choosing the rate. Number of periods is this. And what is the present value, right? This gives us a negative monthly premium because that's the money going out of our pocket, right? So this is the monthly premium. Now let's see a couple of variations of this formula. Okay, if you see this formula, what you will find is there is a future value. Okay, what does the future value mean here? Suppose you wanted to repay this loan with another balloon or lump sum amount at the end. Let's say after first 4 lakh were depleted, I wanted to finish off the loan with 1 lakh. Okay, that's the number that you can put here. That's the future value significance here. So let's try and put that here and see whether the premium goes down. Obviously the premium has to go down because you're paying only 4 lakh and the remaining 1 lakh you're paying at the time of closing the loan. Let's see another variation. Let's take out this future value from here and let's look at the final parameter, which is the type. Okay, typically loans start with our premiums at the end of a monthly period. However, if we wanted to start it with do it with the start of the month, that's also possible, and if we do that, as expected, the premium would go down. Okay, so these are the variations of the PMT formula. Now let's all see another function called as NPER, or number of periods function. Okay, let's say in the same example we do not want to fix a loan tenor of 10 years. Rather than that, we want to fix how much monthly premium we are going to pay. Let's say we are able to afford 8,000 rupees monthly payment, right? So let's find out how many periods will it take for us to deplete the loan. If the monthly premium is 8,000, let's take out the formulas and values from here and let's calculate the tenor in months. Okay, we will use NPER function. What are its parameters? The rate, the payment, the negative monthly payment, the present value, which is this lump sum. Let's find out what is the period, 84 months. Let's find out number of years, which is these many months divided by 12. So you see the tenor had changed because our monthly premium has increased. So that's how you use NPER formula. All right, so let's now look at another formula, which is rate formula. Okay, let me go here. Now look at this example. Let's say my friend has given me an offer that I invest 10,000 rupees with him every month for next 3 years. And in 3 years, he's going to give me back 4 lakh rupees. Now, is this a good deal or not? What kind of rate am I getting in this transaction, right? How do we find that out? We find it out using rate function. So let's use rate function here. Let's see what the parameters are. Number of periods, the payment is 10,000, but that's negative, leaving our pocket. Present value, you keep it blank here. What's the future value we are going to get? It's 4 lakh rupees. What is the rate in this transaction? That's the monthly rate. Let's find out what is the annual rate here. That's 7%. So he's barely giving us 7%. Not a great offer, isn't it? Right, so we saw the rate function. Please note an important point as we go further. Like we saw that these functions can be used for lump sum as well as recurring investments. Also note that these functions can also provide us a borrower view as well as a lender or an investor view. For example, like we use the PMT function to calculate the monthly payment premium on a loan, we can also use the same PMT function to calculate the monthly pension that we will receive if we have an accumulated investment, let's say a provident fund, right? So let's see an example of that. Okay, moving to the next tab here. Let's say that we have a 35-year professional who wants to save to make a corpus for his future pension needs by investing monthly 5,000 rupees into an equity mutual fund, assumed to give 15% returns if it's an equity mutual fund, right? For next 20 years. Let's see what would be his corpus. Okay, we know what to use here. It's a future value function, the rate, the periods, and the payment negative for the reasons you already know, right? So here's the corpus he will have, right? Now let us see if he invested this amount into an annuity fund, okay, which provides him a recurring monthly pension for next 20 years from that point, okay? I guess it's safe to assume 10% return from this fund, since it would be a relatively non-aggressive investment, okay? Now let's try and calculate the monthly pension he will receive. Now we will use PMT function, but now this is going to be an investor point of view, okay, rather than a borrower point of view. So let's use a PMT function, the rate, the periods, and the present value. Okay, this would be negative because we would be investing it into that mutual fund, right? So he would receive 72,000 rupees of a monthly pension. Now, if you knew what monthly pension you really need, you could use that and really find out the pension period. You know, how long will this pension amount suffice? So these are some of the examples of how you can use the Excel financial functions. Let's see this list of all these financial functions here, right? These are useful functions which will help you with several financial needs that you have in day-to-day life. My personal experience is that if you knew these key 5 financial functions, I think they serve most of your day-to-day needs, okay? Hope you find this session useful and you will like to visit the Utility Byte again. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.